All right, we are going to do a quick tutorial on how to use the Know Your Well app. So we're going to start by opening our Google Chrome, and we're going to go to Know Your Well. So knowyourwell.azurewebsites.net is the site that you want to go to. This is the app in a browser version. If you go right up here, you can now install the well onto your own device, your phone, your tablet, your desktop, your laptop. So now I have a Know Your Well version of the app that's here. So this is the app version. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to log in with your school credentials. So if we click on that, our test case that we're going to use is Wilbur Claytonia. So you will look through this and find your specific school or ESU. So, but we're going to use Wilbur Claytonia. And you may or may not go through Google with the way that your school and ESU is set up. In our case, we have to go through that way. So you may have your own account already set up. We're going to click on that. And so in our case, I was able to pass through. You would normally get a login and your password. I've already gone through that process. So we're going to get to our wells. We're in the app now. We have thing, you can see Jose Lopez, that you'll see your name up there. So the first thing to do is here are existing wells that are part of your school, and we're going to create a new well, start with that. So we'll click on there, and now we have a form that has lots of information that you'll have to be filling in. I'm going to just fill in a few things. So I don't take so much time to go through that. We'll just call that test. I'm going to skip some of these things. I'm going to go down, and just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to pick Nemaha as my county, and my NRD is Nemaha. Anything with an asterisk are required for you to fill in. Let's see, we'll just pick, well was dug in or created in 1899. Now here's a feature that if you click for if there's any complaints about the taste of water and you say yes, another text box will open for you to fill in. It tasted like sulfur. Sulfur. Not all of them. Oh, and it has a good spell checker. So sulfur, there we go. Anything with an asterisk, you're going to be required, or it will tell you that there's a problem. I'm going to say unknown. Any major land developed in the last year, say yes. How many people is it? Things. If you do not know, you can put a -99. Otherwise, you can put a number. I'll say 55 people. Again, read what the things are. Now you need to enter an estimated longitude, latitude. So I'm going to use these ones that I've used in the past for estimated longitude and latitude of my well. You fill in these other things. If you fill in a well depth, I'll just show you this one for an interesting feature that when we get to air checking, but we're going to say unknown, we'll say rocks and gravel, it was driven, and then you need to put in your name and anything else, other observations. This is like a comment box, anything else you want to add. And that. Now, this feature is in the process of being worked on, but you can save it and you would have all of the information you've entered you'd be able to come back to. That's not quite working at the moment, but we're going to click on submit. Submit will then, it's going to give you a message saying that you are ready to send that information to the Nebraska Water Center. And that you won't be able to update it once you submit it. You'll have to send the information to us to have that updated at this point in time. When I click on submit, it's going to give me an error message, and it tells me that the well water depth cannot be greater than the total depth of the well, which that makes sense. So we're going to go back up here to well water depth, and let's make the well, let's say the well, we meant to say 60 feet instead of 600 feet. So now we click on submit. It's going to tell you that it's finalizing the data. Are you ready to continue? You say yes, and you say okay. You may need to click on this about project and come back to a well, because this screen may not automatically update it. And so here's our new well that we created, our test 4 well. So if you click on that and you click on well info, you'll see the information that we added. You remember there was 55 people. We had that issue about the well depth was 550 feet. Now the water is only 60 feet. So here is how you can see the information that you've already submitted. The next thing that you potentially could do is go to the field and actually go to the well and collect the water sample. So to do to get to the form for your field visit, you click on field. Might have to double click. All right. So now it's going to pull from your device, from your phone or your laptop or your tablet. It's going to pull a longitude and latitude of that actual location. And then you'll enter some information. It's a sunny day or something like that. Here's another one of those ones where if you do, if you set intact, it would be fine. But if you say it's damaged, it's going to say, tell me a little bit more about that. So I'm going to say cracked lid and missing bolts. Let's say the topography of the well area. I'm going to say it's level land. Is there evidence of runoff? I'll say no. Is there evidence of pooling? I'll say no. And then it's going to ask some additional things like the temperature. We'll say it's 12.2 degrees Celsius. We're going to say it's 7.5 pH. The conductivity is, let's say, 555. And then once again, it wants to know who is actually collecting the data. So there is a feature here to upload a photo that currently in this version is not. You can actually upload a photo. I'll just do that one, but it's not actually storing it yet at the moment. So if I click on save here, it's going to tell me that any previous data would be overwritten. So there's only one place to save for the field and one for well and one for class lab. I'll say okay, and it's information saved. So now if I go back to and say, oh, I am ready to submit it, I can click on that field. It's going to tell me you can use the last session. I'll say okay, and the information that you had entered will still be in the thing. Once again, the photo is not working. That will eventually. So click on submit. No, obviously no errors. So now we're going to actually submit the data. So if you wanted to see the field form, the information you've just entered in the field, you don't actually click on field. That will initiate another field form. You click on previous entries, and here it will show you your field data. So test that 12.12 for temperature, me as the collector. So that's how you look at your field data. So now the last thing that you potentially can do with the app at this time is actually do the lab analysis where you're taking your water sample from the well and you're doing lab analysis. So like the field form, you click on class lab, it's going to show you all the field time visits that you've been to. If you happen to go one day and something happens and you go another day, it will have, and you fill in the field thing, you would have multiple fields that you're going to select the one that water sample that you're going to process is for. So I'm going to click on that field. And now we have the form for class lab and that. So we'll do, I'm going to just use some of the values that I've used before, just so I can get to the point to show you. Well ID is not an important field at the moment. That will eventually be gone from thing. All right, and we're just going to say a test. The save should work eventually in that same process, but we're going to just go to submit and submit our data. Oh, it's telling me I do have to have a field. So at the moment, I did have to put something back in there. All right. So once again, I want to see the class lab that I've actually values I've entered. And so I don't click on class lab. I click on previous entries, and this will show me the class lab that's associated with this field activity. And so here again, we can see the values that have been added. So if I want to go back, I'm done with this well, and I've worked on, I'm going to go to our next well that I've worked on, that I've entered into the system. So there's these variety of wells. So if there's other wells that you've entered before you actually go to the field, then you can select one of those wells that you would want to then go add your field activity to. So one other feature, I'll tag this on at the end, are these two buttons up here. I can sort my wells from oldest to newest. So the well that I just added would be the newest. So if I click on that, it reorders the wells. With 5 wells, that's not a big deal. But if you had 20 wells in your classroom, then it might be easier to sort from newest to oldest. Okay, I'm going to clear that sort. I'm going to close that. The other thing is if some schools may be on the border of multiple counties, and so you can pick the wells for a specific county. Now we did Nemaha, and my guess is not all of these have selected Nemaha as the county. So if I click on Nemaha, then we see this filters out only the wells that are in Nemaha County. One thing at the current time that this filtering system does is if I click on that, I still am in the filter. And I think that's going to be updated. So to get all the wells back, make sure you click on clear the filter. Yeah. So that's a real quick tutorial on how to use the Know Your Well app. Good luck.